live on the Sherry Lord Talk Show podcast. Start your day off with the Higher Vibrational Podcast with weekly guests covering spirituality, healthy foods, and so much more. Go to SherryLord.com for more info. Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm your influencer host, Sherry Lord. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you say hi in our chat box. We want to know that you're here. Let us know. Ask any questions. We'll answer them. Place your ad with us, your business, spiritual events, or your own self to promote yourself. We do 60-second voiceover ads or a 90-second influencer host read ads. Go to www.sherrylord.com, and we have a very special guest. And we're so happy to have a Reverend Sharon-Elizabeth, and her topic is moving into higher parts of ourselves and experiencing consciously more of our dimensionality. And I'm going to say just a little bit. I can't fit a lot of words on this for some reason, but Sharon is listed in a who's who of American businesswomen today. She lectures on the new paradigm of the 21st century and is a featured guest on various TV and radio shows. Starting July 16, 2007, she was telepathically impressed by celestial beings of light to start and facilitate the anchoring light meditation, which has been held every Monday without fail to the present date to assist in our planetary ascension. She is also the founder of Anchoring Light Sacred Journeys, which provides sacred journeys which have a clear mission and purpose to sacred locations around the planet. So she is beautiful. And she also, I also, when I read about you, which I thought was fascinating, is that you also had your abilities, and you remember something about 2.5 years of age. I found that fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit more about you, Sharon? We're so happy to have you on our show.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherry. And it's so wonderful to be here and to all of your listeners. Well, I would say that my memory goes back to when I was 1.5 years. I remember that very specifically. Not everything, but highlights of when I was 1.5 years. And I've always felt that I was not totally attached to my body. It's like there was an observer me looking at my little body and what it was doing. So it was very interesting, which of course now, you know, there is that part of us that is the observer. I'll talk a little bit about that. And it was really funny because when I remember at 1.5 years, I guess my parents were having a party, and I remember being in the crib. I was in another room, but I heard all the activity. I was, you know, holding on to the rails of the crib. And back then, okay, they had a little stuffed doll. The doll was as big as I was, but it had a pointed head. So I remember just looking at this doll. I guess it was like a premonition of what's to come, to be aware of many different life forms that are out there. But at 2.5, I was just standing by a wall in my parents' apartment, and I have what I would call or describe cosmic consciousness. I was one with everything. I knew everything. And of course, 2.5, my little body and brain can't process all of that, but it happened. I was beyond my body, beyond my brain. I was one with everything. So I think they call that omnipresent, omnipotent, omni-everything. That is very real. So that most definitely, although I couldn't describe it at 2.5, but that was what led me on this spiritual path. And what I do remember about that is that I knew I was here before, that this was not my first time. And I knew I had something important and a mission to do. Those are the two things I took out of that experience. So that really led me on my path.
Wow, that is fascinating. And we want to say hello to Kathy Drum. Hi, Kathy, for joining us. We appreciate you. Just remind everybody, please chat, say hi, let us know you're here. Yeah, Sharon, you have had a lot of stories and a lot of experiences in your life. And can you tell us more about moving into higher parts of ourselves and experiencing consciously more of our dimensionality? What is happening now? What is happening with the energies and the shifts?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what I understand, and let's just say, there is the story of Sanat Kamara and the
Right.
Kamaras, and from Venus, and they're looking at the Earth. They're like, "Oh my goodness, what a problem child!" And it was kind of dark, and can we bring some light to this place? And so, in the ancient of days, they talk about that, and the story goes is that he and the Kamaras had to come 3 times because each time they lit the fire got snuffed out. But from that point, okay, is where you have the family of light, and however that expressed itself, that light continued to burn that higher celestial light that comes in. And
Mm-hmm.
so in our evolution and in our ascension, as long as it was people say, oh, this is the worst of times. Not necessarily. If you go all the way back in ancient history, you'll see that it's not as bad as it could be, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some light coming in there, and you have your martyrs, you have your saints, you have your prophets, you have all of that all along the way. Just like today, we have our prophets, we have those people who are saying this is not right, and they become martyrs. I mean, it's the same thing, and it's having that courage individually and collectively in raising the frequency of what
Yeah.
people may call a fallen world. A
Mm.
fallen world. Many of us have reached those higher levels of consciousness in some of the timeline or some of the aspect of ourselves, and have decided, because we have the higher heart of compassion and unconditional love, okay, we have the capacity for that. And in many different uh, literatures and things like that, they're basically saying the same thing where this is concerned. But I would just say that for those who have the capacity to hold a higher heart of compassion and unconditional love, a call went out. Okay, for
Right.
those people to say, I'll come, just like Sanat Kamara and the Kamaras, and assist the planet and her life in this ascension. So there is a divine plan. There is a divine plan. So you may say, and I don't know the whole story, maybe it's a rescue mission. You have Jesus the Christ and other avatars of light that say, we're here, to raise the frequency, and also to, in some way, that correlates to our own evolution. But I most certainly would say that there is a group of souls that have an option to say, I've already experienced all of this, and I know this is why many of us long for home. Like, I know this place, I've reached this level of conscious awareness and so forth. But because of my compassionate heart of love for the divine, okay, the creator, I will go and help out. And so there's a bunch of us that are here that fall in that category.
Mm.
Now, people incarnate to the planet for different reasons, okay? Some most certainly to learn, to grow by soul growth. So it's not just one thing, it's layer after layer after layer. If you look at the complexity of the cosmos, it's like, how could it only be one thing? So people on the planet, or beings, I should say, are on the planet for different reasons. And I would say that a large portion of the humans that are on the planet, they are still into that rudimentary evolutionary process. Okay, more of the animal body. I must survive, and then let's throw in. You have maybe advanced beings also that have their agenda, because we are not only of this earth, we're so much more. We
Mhm.
are one with everything, actually. And so we're also playing that game, of like, we want to keep things the way they are. And there's a thing that says, no, there's actually a divine plan. We want to raise and put that
Yeah.
there. And so you have this duality. So we're in this planet of duality. And so just to add to the complexity of everything else. And what is going on is that, particularly now with the energies, which this is very exciting, but I want to say kudos to those light workers, star seeds, and wanderers who've been alone for a long time doing this work. Still, okay, we would be considered fringe, and they're crazy and all of that still to this day, but not as bad as it was in the past. Okay. We wouldn't be able to have a podcast like this 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. Okay. So that I could see where there is movement. Now, those prayers that everybody does, those heart dreamings, I wish for a better world.
Yeah.
Okay, those things that said, well, I don't know, I can't change the world, but I could do this, I could help out like this. Okay, they all count. They
Yeah.
all count. Somebody says, well, what can I do? Oh my gosh, what you can do is first remember who you are.
Yeah.
You are a magnificent spiritual being of light, and you have great power. It may be dormant at the moment through the brainwashing,
Mhm. Yeah.
that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, all these things. We've come into the matrix. And I will say that Divine Mother, many, many years ago, because I had, asked, there was what is said that this world is an illusion. And I couldn't understand what that meant. This was many, many years ago. What an illusion. If you put your finger in fire, there's nothing illusionary about that. It'll burn. All right. You'll move that. So I was shown, Sherry, if you can imagine a vat of molasses,
Yeah.
okay? And you're in the middle of this molasses. That is how thick, okay, the illusion is. That is how thick. All right. So sometimes you don't know which way is up or down, right or left. The fact that you can even walk on a path, bravo, bravo, because it takes that much to get out of it. It's a lot of work. And then those parts of ourselves start saying, and whether that comes in the form of a dream or a sense of knowing or some level of inspiration. Okay, there's something in you, which is your higher self. Okay, talking to this little self over here saying, there's a lot more going on. Okay, beyond the physical world in the animal body, or better yet, let's put the earth suit body. I prefer that. We're wearing these earth suit bodies for us to be on the planet, right? So for us to survive on this planet, we have to have the vibration of the planet. So we put an earth suit on. So that's our space suit, because the planet is traveling, and I don't know how many miles per hour, but it is
Mhm.
super fast throughout space. Okay, so we're on spaceship Earth. And,
Mhm.
and we are here. We're the pilots and co-pilots and the crew. All right. Now you have passengers. Okay. Some of those passengers are not awake yet. They
Yeah.
don't realize, okay, that they are galactic beings. They are still very much in that matrix. Okay. And so they're going to be the way they're going to be, which is the lower frequencies trying to control the limitation of this planet, the limitation of not going beyond the awareness of this planet. And I don't have to tell you, Sherry, and as a minister and a counselor, I've run into those situations with young people, young and older too, but young people figuring that life is so bad, no one's life is as bad as theirs. They're a failure in the world. They're not, and to the point, where they figure they can't stay in this world. And I want to go like, no, you don't remember who you are. No, there's so much more than this world. No, no, no. But that's how thick
Mhm.
people feel, that they resort, that they must take themselves out of this world. And I understand it's hard. It's very hard for many people who are sensitives, we're empaths. Okay. And to be in this vibration, I get it. I get it. But we hang in there because there's that higher part that is always constant trying to get our attention. And when we start like saying, you begin to say, you know what? I think I'm just going to have to be my authentic self. I would say
Mhm.
that that starts it. A
Yeah.
lot of times when we come in how we're programmed, parents, school, family. I just did a blog. I just did a blog actually, and it's on the Cosmic Center website. And the blog was beginning to question, not to say that the things of the past and traditions and cultures aren't of value. They are, but
Mhm.
is everything, everything correct, or is everything empowering you to be who you truly are? That's
Yeah.
the question. And I have found that part of the journey, because that self-esteem issue is a real big issue for many people. Okay, because we are so programmed to fall into these little blocks, and for you to be successful or to be happy, it has to look like this. No, no. Being happy is being your authentic self,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Because each of us carry a puzzle piece to the bigger story. And what people don't understand, or where they are not locked, they're locked into this little square, is that your puzzle piece is so important for
Yes.
you to do what it is you came here to do. It's like you are part of the mission. All right. So whatever that may be, I'm the best of taking care of children, or I'm going to take this job to be a scientist, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, you do the best of what it is, and then you start tapping in, being courageous to be your authentic self. Now, what happens? That's probably going to rub a lot of people the wrong way,
Yeah.
because it's going against the system. Like, what
Yeah.
do you mean? That no, I need time, and I need to go to the country, and I need to hug a tree. Now, will there be ridicule? Will it be from the people who are? I love the Matrix, the show The Matrix, because it really goes into the details of it. They're so programmed to that they will come after you when you are the one trying to help, but they don't understand that. But that does not stop you. You discern. Of course, discernment is so important.
Mhm. Yep.
But you must first be true to yourself.
Yep.
Okay. So if you, Sherry, myself, or anybody here that's listening to this broadcast, the
Mhm.
fact that we are the fact that we are listening to this now and interacting in this way says that there were times in our life that we had to be
Yep.
courageous to be our authentic self, for us to be where we are now, because we bucked or went against the system of the family, the government, whichever system that's there. Now, once that happens, that's just the first step. Okay, you begin to say, and this is it. You start to talk. We have spiritual guides. We have such a team,
Mhm.
okay, of radiant light beings that are cheering for us. They're like, okay, go Sherry, go Sherry, okay. And you say, like, I don't know, I have this thought that came in. I was just thinking, but here comes a thought form out of nowhere. And it's a positive thought form. This
Yep.
thought forms could be positive or not. We're going for the positive thought
Yep.
forms, a sense and a feeling. When you start recognizing it. So to this day, when something, a sense, a thought, a presence, I say, I recognize you, or even as I'm busy, I recognize it. I give it a second to recognize it, because what you're doing is you're beginning to create that bond and that connection more directly. And over time, just like how you have a physical muscle, you have a spiritual muscle.
Mhm.
Then your intuition becomes more clear. As you
Mhm.
start moving into the higher parts of yourself, you realize, wow, wait a minute, I'm part of a whole galactic level. And then you go beyond that, like, I'm the universe. Okay. Then you start, once you have that enlightenment, the mind cannot go dark again. It's like
Mhm.
you can't go back. You're here now, and we are here. An easy way to know this, or how to move through with this, is we are here to make known the unknown. We are
Yep.
here to make known the unknown, because that is how we grow spiritually. So that requires for us to move beyond the great manipulator of all time, fear.
Yep.
We vibrate to love, but
Mhm.
the controlling mechanism for an agenda that is not supportive of us to go as a humanity. And by the way, I have been very clearly told, impressed, and censored, no, we are like the superstars in the divine plan, let's just say our little section of the universe, okay, the what is known in Kabbalah, the Admin Kadmon, the Admin Kadmon is the divine human. Remember, it was the one to come to sort of master the earth and be the caretaker and all of that stuff. There was a divine plan. There was a whole thing, the Garden of Eden, all of that good stuff. And then I don't know the whole story, but something happened. Okay, that we got off kilter on that. We're trying to get back on kilter and move into a higher level.
Yep.
And so what that means is that we are now moving, because there are outside celestial forces. They needed those connectors. We are the resonant field. We're the containers. So I always acknowledge those who have come before us that held that light, even in the midst of darkness and chaos. Even when we had to go underground to hold the light was held nonetheless, just like the tarot card, where you see the hermit holding the light.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that's what we do. And I'm sure not only in our ancestors that have done that, I'm pretty sure we are our own ancestors that have come here in past lives and are on this track, this divine service track. And if you look at the world, it's not one lifetime to do this work, so that's part of what we're doing. And now more than ever, we're realizing we are galactic beings, we're universal beings. Our consciousness can go anywhere. Remote viewing is now very popular. I always say during these times, we don't want to get caught up in the drama. So you always come from the observer.
Yeah.
There's an observer part of me. And that's like what I had when I was little. There was an observer looking at what I was doing. That's for all of us.
That is wonderful. I mean, we just love the way you're explaining it, and it's just easy to follow. Good information, and it's awesome. What can people do? Is there like any tools they can do daily, or with all the changes that are happening, and with the ascension, and everyone
Yes.
experiences it differently?
Yes, there are definitely tools. So one tool I would say is the rudimentary. There are a lot of triggers in the world, and let's just say the agenda, or not an agenda, but some of the pitfalls is to get you distracted, get you upset. It's really to promote the lower energies. You get angry, you feel sad, all of those things, which is vibrating in the lower level, right? And really the world, if you turn on TV and you see what's going on, that's real easy to get into that vibration, okay? Because it's surrounding you. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you want to do, let's say, for example, look at the craziness with road rage. I mean, just look at some of the stuff that's out there, right? It's a low vibration. So what if someone comes up to you and, triggers you? The first thing that's the default is to react. But I want to tell all our beautiful light workers, as you walk this path, remember you're walking the path of mastery. Okay, think of the ascended masters or the saints, whoever. They got to a point of walking their mastery, or working on their mastery. We're all working on our mastery. Mastery is when you could be in the midst of chaos and you are unshaken, that you could hold that higher peace known as the Ozzy Shalom, the Shalom is Shalom, the Shalom is Shalom, the peace that surpasses all human understanding. When you start tapping into the higher parts of yourself, okay, you start working those muscles. I acknowledge this, like there's something else. Dreams are coming. I'm going to write those dreams down. Wait a minute. I think I have a code. I'm saying 1111, 222, 333. You start paying attention to everything around you, because it all has meaning. There's a level of information. Now, the other thing to realize, you say, I'm studying this book and I just don't even get it. Okay, like say Theosophy, for example. I do have my PhD in Theosophy. It was archaic. How to even read this? It's volumes and volumes. But you have to remember, there's higher levels of ourselves. So you may not be getting it here, but the other parts of yourselves, you're
Mm-hmm.
getting. That's why also mandalas, you say, oh, that's so beautiful. I love this. I'm not sure the meaning of what it is, but there's something about it because
Mm-hmm.
higher parts of yourself are like, yeah, we know what this is. Ideally, we're going to integrate over time, okay, the higher parts of ourselves into this physical expression we find ourselves in. So just like the saints and the masters, okay, they were able to walk in this earth, okay, but vibrate. Some of them can have, in fact, there's a couple of ascended masters that are here in the physical, in the area of Siberia and Tibet. Okay, if nobody knows, they're just there, but they have the ability, for example, to appear and disappear. Baba G, okay, he's still hanging out. He's here thousands of years. He looks like a young guy. There are people who encounter him. Okay, so we have to say, is this even possible? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is, because there's living proof on the planet and around us that this does happen. All right. So, when what we can do in our personal journey, and one, you never compare yourself to anybody else
Yeah.
because it's unique to you. That's number one. Okay. And just say, okay, I now, and just put the intention, want to really connect to my higher self. I want to realize, the higher parts of myself. I remember clearly, Sherry, when I became consciously aware of my higher self.
Yeah.
I remember that was like, oh my gosh, it's like there's another part. I remember that clearly. Like, I recognize you.
Yeah.
Recognizing the higher parts that come in different ways to you, a sense and a feeling, or feeling warmth, like somebody, like, I just feel this love. I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be your higher self, it could be another being. And so I would say that's the first thing to do. Well, second thing is that do not get out of your balance. And you're gonna have people that trigger you, as I was saying before. You start to breathe. The breath is we forgot that the breath is the divine breathing through us, the breath of Brahma. So for example, when, and most certainly I have been known to have a temper, okay, and all of that, and I realize in life, I said, this probably won't work well for me. So I'm going to have to do something, control these lower aspects of myself. How do I do that? By tapping to the higher one. So the breath, when you feel yourself being challenged, upset, you just take some really deep breaths. You can see when I'm challenged, because you'll see me breathing a lot. But what the breathing does, okay, you just take a hold it and let it go. Do it at least 3 times. In that moment, it stops whatever automatic reaction you would do in that moment. So somebody upset you, it'll stop you from saying something you said, well, I probably shouldn't have said that, or whatever response, okay, which is more a survival, animal body, kind of rudimentary response.
Yeah.
Instead, when you breathe, it brings in that higher part also physiologically, because that's when the adrenaline starts to pump. When you start getting upset, shallow breathing, the heart is beating faster, and the adrenaline starts. Then it goes to the point of no return. Then it's almost like your higher self is looking at yourself going crazy. Like, so it's like you're saying, okay, I'm going to use the breath as a tool to help me to stay centered in this situation. And then that's when you'll be able to say, let me get back to you on that, or I'm going to address this at another time. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, you are acting and not reacting.
Reacting.
It's a
Very
difference.
good advice. Very good advice. We just appreciate having you on our show. Can you tell people you have a spiritual center? Can you
Yes,
tell people a little bit about, how they can get a hold of you, more about your center, or anything else you'd like to share with our audience, the people who are
absolutely.
listening?
Okay, absolutely. Well, I am head of the Cosmic Center of Spiritual Light. And as I was saying to Sherry, we are now in our 12th
Wow.
year. If you go on our Facebook page or you go on our website, cosmiccenterspiritualite.com or ccosl.com. We also have a YouTube channel and we are in social media.
Good.
And you will read the story as to how that all came about. I do want to show you the symbol. And this happened in 1979. It's like the Greek letter phi, but there was something called, what I called it, the universal cause. I was in college at the time, and this thing came in so strong, so strong. I felt it was my first time when I really became like, wow, I got to write this down, and I did. And basically, it is the foundation of the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light that came about 33 years later. So you have to think universal galactic. You say, oh, this should happen in this time. Not necessarily, because there's parts that we don't know. We're part of a much larger, grander plan. So when I did write this symbol, and I did write down what I got from it, and was all about unity consciousness. Of course, back then they didn't have those words like unity consciousness, but it was about it's all one.
Yep.
And separation is an illusion. It's all one. So when you come to the center, or if you visit it through YouTube, we do a lot of classes, not only physically at the center itself, but also now since COVID, which is part of now the fifth dimension of our technology, where anybody could be anywhere on the planet and we can all choose to meet at a certain place, right? That you can participate with that. So if you go to the center, we're located in the Meadows in Sarasota, Florida. But again, you don't have to be living in the area. You can visit us via internet. So we have Zoom, we have go into and look at our calendar of events. We bring people from all around the world. We're small, but we bring the luminaries from around the world. So we've had many people from Ancient Aliens. We just had Sarah Brexman Cosme here, who is like another Dolores Cannon of QHHT. We've had shamans from, South America, and Dr. Hertak, the Keys of Enoch. He has been to the center. Looks like he's going to be coming back again. So yeah, we do bring in very high level illuminaries to the center. And of course, that includes everybody here who's listening to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Reverend Sharon-Elizabeth. We're so happy to have you, and we definitely will have you back. And we just want to say thank you for your knowledge and wisdom and everything you've explained in the teachings and understanding. And we know everyone that's listening or watching got a lot out of this. And I want to say thank you to Kathy Thorson for watching us as well, and Kathy Drum, and everyone else who's not chatting. A lot of people watch, not everyone chats, but we love it when you chat. We just want to say thank you to all our listeners, to Sharon, and blessings and prosperity and abundance on your path, and blessing all. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.